Let's get one thing out of the way right from the start. Okay, more than one thing. I'm very late to the party and I'm no longer the target demographic. That said, when all this started, I was, and I did enjoy these kinds of books. I never really bothered with the television spin-offs, but I did like reading the books. And at first I thought they'd gone downhill. Then I realised the books hadn't really changed, I had. Now that's understandable. As much as you might fight it kicking and screaming as you get older, you do change. What's less easy for me to explain is how some people who are in the target audience age range have already noticed the thing that I blissfully overlooked back in the early days of Vampire Mania. Actually, no, before Vampire Mania was even mainstream, that was one of the things that my younger grumpy self quite liked. Vampire fiction didn't used to be the popular fiction that it became shortly after I started to lose interest. People, i.e. the older generation, looked at me like I was strange, imagine that, when I said I liked vampire fiction. I think it's come full circle now and you're seen as out of fashion if you still read vampire fiction. Anyway, to get to the point, vampire fiction is so unrealistic. Obviously, most people don't consider vampires to be real in the real world, but that's not the problem I have with the fictionalised versions. In fiction, yes, they can exist. In the fictional world, I have no problem with an undead, blood-sucking immortal walking around causing carnage, baying mobs, the whole works. No, what I have an issue with is the fact that this centuries-old predator is going to enrol at a succession of schools and spend his days hanging out with a group of teenagers. Who, over the age of 19, wants to hang out with teenagers? Now, the idea that vampires might infiltrate a school the same way that you might take your family to an all-you-can-eat buffet, that I can get behind. The villain character of the vampire in horror psychological thriller style, that I can accept as a concept. Where it's humans versus vampires, even if the vampires win, I can still accept that as a realistic in the supernatural sense storyline. I probably wouldn't read it as I'm not into horror books, but I can accept it. But to have them introduced as equals, to have the other kids hang out with them and develop well-balanced friendships and a healthy, respectful love interest, really? My son has a fascination with zombies. I don't understand it. The zombie trend passed me by completely. I have zero interest in them. I tried one book which featured a sort of zombie virus or something. I didn't read the sequels, and it was okay, but that's all I'd say for it because the subject matter is completely unappealing to me. It's not a criticism of the author, just that it's a topic that does absolutely nothing for me. But that said, I take his inexplicable fascination with the implausible and, in my opinion, non-canonical zombies over my teenage daughter coming home one day to introduce me to her 500-year-old boyfriend Vladimir. There's only one thing Vladimir could possibly see in my teenage daughter, and it's not a well-balanced relationship. It's the supernatural version of Operation Yew Tree, and I'd stake him with one of the branches from that yew tree if he started sniffing round my child. But in the fictional world that doesn't happen. After 2 pages to absorb the shock, everybody who is in the know just casually accepts this creature in the classroom who is not only much older than them, but older than the teacher and probably the school building as well. Plus whatever ridiculous scenario ensues from the vampire joining the school, some of his appetisers will join his band of merry rebels in vanquishing this other foe, instead of what they should be doing, which is questioning why this old man is hanging around in their schoolyard.